All right, everybody, it's your boy Ed Diaz, and I am back. Except this time, we're going to cover a little bit of a different area. So, you guys all have heard Silicon Valley, right? For us natives here in California, in Northern California, we call it the South Bay. But for all the rest of you around the country, this is Silicon Valley, and we're going to cover it. And I can't think of a better person than Nima Moridi. This guy is a rock star. Let me tell you, we just finished doing a transaction together. Matter of fact, we didn't even know each other. We were on the opposite ends. I was representing our buyer, and he was representing, of course, his seller. And the transaction just went so well. He was such a professional, just so on top of it. I said, I got to interview this guy and find out not only about him, but also about what's going on in Silicon Valley. What's the market look like? Is it crazy? Is it slowing down? Well, who better to ask? So, Nima, thank you first off so much for being on my channel and allowing me to interview you, man. This is such a pleasure, honestly.
Hey, it's my pleasure to be on, Ed. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I got to say, working with you, we've done many transactions, both of us throughout our careers, and it was a very seamless transaction. I love the fact that you handled your part of the transaction, and I handled mine. And at the end of the day, we met at the end to do a little virtual handshake. We
Yeah,
haven't
we
met each
sure
other
did.
yet, so it was great to have that deal with you, and I hope to have another one in the near future as well.
Yeah, for sure.
With this day and age, with how the market's been changing, and I know we'll definitely get into that, but
For
how it's
sure.
been changing literally sometimes on a daily basis. It's just so important to have somebody professional that has that market pulse, has their ear to the ground, following market trends every single day. So while we were waiting for the mics to warm up, we chatted a little bit more about what we're doing and how we follow the trends. And
Yeah.
it's great to see. It's very nice to see somebody else who follows the market like I do. So yeah, definitely a blessing to be working with you and have you there. So a little bit more about myself. Should I just start from the top?
Yeah, tell me a little bit about you, because I mean, obviously, I mean, we're look Diaz. We know we're not natively from the United States, right? We all have a
Right.
story of immigration. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about you just as a person, and then I know you got into real estate back in April of 2005. So to kind of give me an idea of why. Why did you get into real estate? Why
Yeah.
was that? But tell me about you first.
Yeah. How was I a high school student and got a real estate license? Right. That's kind of
Exactly.
peculiar. Seldomly do you see that.
That's right.
So I was born to Iranian refugees. My parents fled during the revolution in Iran, and they met over here, and then I was born here. And my father got into real estate in 1988. He used
Oh,
to, that typical immigrant family that you hear so much about. You hear these stories from so many people, washing dishes. He was literally washing dishes and working at a car wash. So like, he would wash cars during the day when the summertime, and when the sun was out, and in the evenings when the car wash was closed, he'd work at the booth. So that's how he got started in this country. Those were his first jobs, and he worked as a draftsman, and then got into real estate because of how he can make more money for his family. Because coming from those traditional families where the father's the only individual that worked in the mom's home with two kids, my brother and I, it was a bit challenging for him to be able to put food on the table. So it was that whole entrepreneurial spirit that he got in, and he started with Century 21, in Santa Clara in 1988. And
wow.
I mentioned that because I've been around this business my whole life as a result. My father used to bring me in because my mom would do some work at home. So I'd get stuck in one of those rooms similar to what you got on the green screen, but a lot
Right.
smaller. And, with
Right.
just some printer paper and, a pen and maybe some crayons. And I would just draw houses and stuff like that. This is how I grew up, right? So I was,
Wow.
in my dad's
So
office
it's
after
in your blood now.
yeah, it's in my blood, and so when I was in high school, naturally, I went and got my real estate license. I was a senior in high school. It's not what I wanted to do for a living, but I thought it would be something that I can do part time while I was building up my career. I had this fascination with science, and I just thought myself like good with people, building relationships. So I was thinking that I would become like an eye doctor because I had really bad vision myself, and I was really into science. So I thought, yeah, I really like helping people. Maybe I'll just have this real estate license on the side and hold open houses on the weekends and whatnot. I'd come down. And I went to UC Berkeley, so not too far. I would just drive down and
Oh, okay.
and hold open houses for my dad in Santa Clara. And fast forward, I guess it took me about 8 to 9 years before I started doing it full time. I dabbled in other things. And then, my father being the old guard, a lot of experience, I thought, hey, Pops, why not? I come in the mix. I handle like the younger, tech buyers, those types of folks, and you got like your experience. And I think that we would complement each other very well in that respect. And that's what we ended up doing. That's how we formed the Al Moridi team, and now rebranded to the Moridi team.
Got it. How many people do you have on your team?
So right now we have, as far as agents go, it's me, my brother, and my father, my younger brother
Okay.
that I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
He's an agent as well. So we three are the realtors, and we have a great staff of admins, marketing
Yes,
coordinators that
support.
help us run the business, make sure the wheels are turning. Some of these folks, I'll get on the horn with them if we need some help, like on a Saturday with flyers, and they're there to help us, right? If we run out of flyers at an open house, for example. So that's who we are total. I would say with the admins, we're a team of about 7 to 8.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. So you have great support and you have a TC and all that, right? Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
That's
and we've
awesome.
recently done this a little bit more, Ed, since
Hmm.
COVID, for example. We're so grateful on both of our businesses, right? We had no idea what was going to happen with the
No,
onset of
it's
COVID,
true.
right?
It's true.
Little, so, a lot of agents that I know of, they went and even got unemployment because they didn't know what was going to happen, and we're so grateful, fortunately, that the business just shot up, and we're out here like, yo, we need to be able to chat with more people. We need to
Yeah.
give more of our clients our time and not be in these contracts. So we've just been hiring more admin as a result.
That's great. I think that's a very smart play. Very, very good. So tell me, what areas specifically in cities do you cover?
Yeah, so I would say in the past year, I mean, I pretty much cover all of Silicon Valley and the peninsula area. I would say
Okay.
predominantly, Santa Clara County and San Mateo.
Yep.
Over the past year, I've sold from Gilroy at the tail end of Silicon Valley, right, in Santa Clara County, all the way up to about Pacifica, across the way to Fremont, Newark area. So
Oh,
on the
okay.
buy side, I'm usually all over the place. I'm selling even in that 925 area, like Danville, Dublin.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I even
You
make
come
it up
out.
over there. Now,
Uh,
that being said, for me to drive that much, it's usually for more of a qualified, personal
okay.
referral, right?
Sure.
To drive that hour away from where I live. But the short answer is, yeah, if a client is there and they have interest in that area, I want to be sure that I can represent their interests to the best way I can. So on the buy side, it's over there. Now on the selling side, we have our areas of expertise. We started the business in Santa Clara and expanded out. So those are the areas that we farm. And for folks that don't know
Yep.
about that, who are not in the real estate space like us, a farm is an area where, just like you have a farm, when you're growing crops, right, you cultivate, you nurture it, and it grows. And this is an analogy we use for the areas that we drop flyers. We do open house events, block
That's
parties,
right.
garage sales, whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm starting to see and starting to read that different places in the country, sellers are starting to budge a little bit and drop their prices. Some houses are staying on the market a little bit longer. And so, of course, here comes all these folks, what I call the bubble people. And I love how you call them the bubble bros.
Yeah,
They're
bubble
saying,
bros.
aha, I told you the bubble's coming, right? And the bubble being, there's going to be a 10 to 20% correction, which I don't think is going to happen at all, probably ever in
Yeah,
California. But we are
yeah.
starting to see a little bit of that trend. What do you tell people that are out there, buyers specifically, that are like sitting on the sideline saying, well, I told you, here it comes. There's going to be a 10
Yeah.
to 20% correction.
Well, first of all, bless your heart, Ed, for saying 10 to 20%, because I even hear more stuff that market's crashing, bro, 30%. Like, do you know what has to happen in order for the real estate market to crash like it was in 2007? How old were you in 2007 again? But let's not even go there. But
Right.
you never want to come off as, as like being arrogant, right? You want to
Yeah,
educate people. That's the first thing that
exactly.
comes to my head, especially when they don't ask to me in a question. They like make it as a statement, as if they
Yeah,
know. But obviously, so you got to dial it back a little bit and educate them. And
sure.
to answer your question, I mean, whether you look at Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and NAR, the first three, you have more experience than I do. Uh, they're all saying prices to appreciate through 2022. On
Yeah,
average, the average
yeah.
price that I'm looking at now, these are national figures, is a 9% increase in home prices, taking the home price hikes, the interest rate hikes, I'm sorry, interest rate hikes into consideration.
Which is
Even
huge.
interest rates, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, we're not going to see 20% year over year growth. And as you said, different markets, right? Phoenix, I believe, or even Austin had more of like a 28 to 35% year over year growth, right? 2020 to 2021. No, we're not going to see that in 2022 for a few different factors, namely the Fed trying to tackle the inflation situation, right, with bumping up these rates. We're
Yep.
going to see about half of that. So no, that doesn't mean that the market's going to crash, right? A great analogy that I saw Mike Simonson, he runs Altos Research. He's a guy that I follow a lot, and I got to give him a shout out because I stole this from him. He said, imagine the speed limit 65, right? That's about 6 months of inventory. Not a buyer's market, not a seller's market. Let's call it neutral, right? We're going 65. In 2020, we were going about 80 miles an hour. Last year, we were going like 95 miles an hour, man. I'm telling like, you're looking at the speedometer, like, yo, if a cop pulls me over, I might go to jail. That's how fast you were going. You see that cop down the road, you dial it down to 75 miles an hour. Clearly, you're going significantly slower than you were going, but you're still going above the speed limit. That's where we are today in today's market, right? So to use an analogy, we're going 75 instead of 95, but we're still going above the speed limit.
Yeah. And by the way, that's your correction. There it is.
Yeah.
That's the correction.
Yeah, I was so happy about this, and I'm still very happy about this. Now, I know, I'm just saying, just me being completely selfish here, I'm thinking about the market as a whole. We were in such a savagely unhealthy real estate market where properties are selling for 400, 500.
Yeah, unrealistic. Yeah, completely.
Nobody knew where the ceiling was. Nobody knew what to do.
There wasn't one.
Buyers, right? I've had so many buyers that just quit because like, I just can't do it. I can't compete like this. I was for the hikes because now at least we're seeing people being able to get back into the market. Now going real quick, not take up too much time here, but going back to some of those
this is good stuff.
Price reductions, my man Ed, that we've been seeing, right? And we were discussing this a little bit more. You couple those interest rates, right, with what we've seen in the stock market. I'm an investor. I'm sure you are as well. Well, I'm looking at my Google stock. I'm looking at Facebook. I'm looking at everything, right? And the S&P and NASDAQ, and that's just going down. Our buyers, generally speaking, use either a gift from family, from what we experience, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, 100%.
Or they're investing those stock options for the down payment. It's usually one of the two, right? That we, at least that I see when I'm looking at people.
I'm right there with you.
Right? So if the value of their stocks tanks by half, yes, some of them might pull back a little bit, be in some shock and say, I might want to wait a little bit longer before I buy, right? So you might have a few price reductions because of that. But there's so many factors that go into it. In a nutshell, from what I've been seeing, and please let me know your thoughts, I'm seeing rates that should be going past 6% this year, and home prices continuing to appreciate year over year in 2022 on average about 9%.
Yeah, no, I think you're straight on. The one caveat I would say is that we've seen one decline in GDP, right? So that's usually, here we go with recession. Also, when we see employment at an all-time high, that's another real big sign. And then, the inversion of the yield curve being the third one. But I will say this, that there's no doubt that we're going to go into a recession. Now, I didn't say depression. I didn't say jump off a bridge, folks. I'm saying we're going into a recession. It'll be probably a mild one. But here's the thing, is that the good news about that is that for the most part, recessions bring lower rates. Now, what's the big elephant in this room? Inflation, right? The fact that we're still seeing, prices go up. We're still seeing that. And the Fed has to. The reality is that the Fed is late to the game. They should have started this rate increase a while ago so that we wouldn't feel such a shock. But they didn't. And okay, here we are, can't cry over spilled milk, but the reality is that they're going to have to keep raising rates. Now, let me just say this really quick, that there's a difference between long-term and short-term rates. When we talk about the Fed raising rates, we're talking about the short-term rates, federal funds rate, the rate at which banks lend each other money overnight. And that will affect immediately things like equity lines of credit and your credit card. So if you're carrying credit card debt, I'm telling you right now, you're in for some pain. And it's a good time to look at your whole finances. And if you already own a home, you want to maybe look at folding it in. But the reality is that rates most likely will continue to go up until we are able to harness and tackle, as you said, I love that word, inflation. Until that happens, and for those of you who don't remember, in 1981, Paul Volcker, right, he was the chairman of the Fed, rates went up as high as 21% on the 30-year fix, came back down to 13, and everybody thought it was free money. Just to give you some context, but make no mistake, that 2.5% that we saw, that was artificial. That was not real rates. The Fed had to do that to keep us from spiraling economically.
And they did a great job, right? They did a great job with it. I mean, the economy obviously didn't go down. If anything, it went the complete opposite. It got overheated. And
Yep.
guys like, right,
Exactly.
Jay Powell now, like, okay, well, yeah, maybe we should have acted a little bit earlier, but now we got to do this. 75 basis points might be a little too aggressive, right? Let's go 50, and just see it
Right.
to have
Which
the
is, I think, is what's
soft
going to
landing,
happen.
right?
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
And Ed, you're so right about the recession thing. I mean, hey guys, let's not freak out too much. We got to always remember the market's cyclical, right? It goes up and it comes down. We've been in this bull run for what, the past decade when it came to real
Yeah.
estate. My
Yeah.
father used to tell me, back in the day when I was getting this business, he would say it's usually 5 years up, 5 years down, 5 years up, 5 years
Yeah.
down. We've seen 10 years up.
Yeah.
So at
Totally.
some point, it has to come
Yeah.
down. So, and recession
Cycles.
does not equate housing crisis. We got to remember this, right?
Yeah. That's
It
true.
doesn't mean that it's going to be that we're going to have a crisis in housing.
If anything, it'll get stimulated again
Right.
because rates go down.
Very true. Yeah.
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 So this year, Ed, do you see in a nutshell, in a gross nutshell for lending, refis going down, HELOCs going up? Is that what you're seeing for 2022?
I'm seeing, and not even so much HELOCs. I do see refis going down. However, those folks who really see the 30,000 feet bigger
Mm-hmm.
picture of their finances are going to understand the following. Number one is just because the rate, let's say right now is at 5.25, doesn't mean you have to take that rate. You can use some of your equity. Notice how I didn't say working dollars. There's a big difference, folks, between you
Yeah.
paying for a lower rate out of your earnings than using your equity. By the way, that's another huge benefit of owning a home. That basically you're using money that you're making while you're sleeping to do things like what? Restructure your debt. Because if you're paying 21% on a credit card and you could get 5%, I mean, it's simple math, folks. Please don't take out your calculator for this one, right? You're going to want to restructure a lot of your debt. That doesn't mean that you can't refinance when the rates go down again. Use, again, some equity. Because if your property is appreciated, let's just call it 9%, 9% on a million, I think I just found your closing cost money. I think
Yeah.
I just found the money to pay for you to get a lower rate and to restructure all your debt. Do you see what I'm saying? This is not income money that's coming out of a wallet. It's coming out of your home as you're sleeping. Because even 9%, where are you going to get that? As far as an investment, and that you can sleep in, by the way. I don't know of any other investment, right?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the best way to go. Obviously, we have a bias. We work in the industry. A lot of us have seen this year over year, right? We got in this industry. It's something that we're passionate about. But look at the trends, right? I mean, overall, like that hockey stick trajectory, right, of housing
Oh,
prices. I mean, you had a little dip here, but it still overall goes up. I just brought up this graph real quick. I got this from one of my real estate coaches, and it talks about how real estate is 41% of Americans view it as the most favorable way of building wealth, right? Stocks is right under that at 26%. Real estate is still king. Ever since 2012, the past 10 years, people have been putting all that money into real estate, and they've been seeing those appreciations that have come with it. And remember, folks, it's the best hedge against inflation.
it really is. And I'll tell you a little secret. Before I got into mortgage lending, I had read that 84% of the Forbes 400, meaning the 400 richest people in the world, had made the majority of their wealth in real estate. And
Oh,
I'm
wow.
thinking, what?
Yeah.
Because up until then, remember, I was a stockbroker and a financial advisor. I thought people were doing just buying stock from companies that were, telling them, hey, you need to do this. They were giving them, hey, I know about this stock. You need to invest in it. That's how I thought people were building their wealth, especially at that level. And that was not true. The truth is, it's been real estate, right? Because again, where else everybody needs to live somewhere. So whether you're a landlord or you're buying your first house, everybody needs to live somewhere, right? You're either providing housing or it needs to be provided to you. But when you're renting, there's no upside,
Right.
except for your landlord, of course, right? Because look, the truth is, you ready for this one? Everybody has a mortgage. The question is it yours or is it your landlord's, right?
That's
Are
a
you
very
building the wealth? Are you building legacy? What
or you just paying their
is your family going to be left with, right?
right.
Plus, you're getting tax write-offs and you're getting, right, upsides that there's nothing else you can sleep in that gives you that. And that's why I just love real estate so much. Plus, for a lot of us, and let's be clear, I mean, it's happening to our mutual client here. It's changing their demographic life because he's moving into a much nicer neighborhood. That's going to change his kids. It's going to change his family, right? So it's not just about houses. It's also about socioeconomically what happens in a transaction in real estate, plus all the other industries that we keep afloat and that we keep them fed, contractors, lumber, and everything else, right? Think about that supply chain. It's huge. We have a huge impact, which is the reason why real estate and housing is one of the biggest parts of any economy.
That's so true, Ed. And my coach told me before, what I think it was the last Tom Ferry event that I was at. He had mentioned how 17% of America's GDP is tied to real estate, just like
There
what
you
you
go.
said. When it
There
comes
you
to
go. It's huge.
contractors, right? All the folks in between, plumbers. You said it exactly. And we can sit here and talk so much about numbers and figures, and it's so true because we're like, guys, like this is the best time, and you would know better than anyone, Ed. We're screaming at these 5% interest rates, but if you look at it over the past, let's just say 30 years,
6 to 7%.
right, it's not that. I mean, they're still fairly low. I mean,
They are.
relative to what?
Six to
Relative,
seven percent is where it's been.
you know,
End of
but yeah,
story.
relative to 2.6% that in early 2021, yeah, it's higher.
Yeah.
But relative to the past few decades, not so much, right? So
Yeah. We get
like
spoiled with free lunch, Nima. That's the
yeah,
problem, right?
right,
We get
yeah,
used to the lunch being free, and then we got to pay one day, and then we don't want to, right? That's
yeah.
essentially what's going on. So tell me what you think is going to happen in your area the rest of the year. So you thinking 9%, or what's your kind of take on it?
Yeah, I'm thinking that you're going to see, like, for example, you're not going to see 12 offers on a home. You're going to see like
Okay.
4 or 5 of them, fairly strong, still non-contingent, very clean offers that we're going to be, getting. We still see them, but the acceleration is going to decrease. So
Yeah.
we have to remember the two terms. There's depreciation and deacceleration, right?
That's
We're not
right.
going to have depreciation. We're just going to have it's not going to
That's
be
right.
going as fast though. It's going to slow down. And that, guys, that's exactly what the government's trying to do. That is what the Federal
Yeah.
Reserve
It's
is trying to
working. Yeah. Yeah.
do. Yeah, we're
That's
trying to do
exactly
is
it.
exactly working. So,
What's the average price or the median price in your area?
so the median price, I would say, like right now in Santa Clara County, the average price I would say is probably like in San Jose. Let's just say San Jose proper is 1.6 for an average.
1.6. Okay.
I still think that detached single family homes are going to be a hot commodity.
Yeah.
I still think we're significantly underbuilt in this area. In my opinion, it has to do with the Great Recession that happened and
Yeah.
builders really pulling back on building new homes, right? Because they
That's true.
didn't want to deal with that huge surplus that they had to deal with last time. And if you go and look at some of these tech stocks, which I like to look at in the mornings about, homes and, how bullish they are about how they're going to be building homes over the next few years. We have an inventory crisis right now. I think that the homes are going to still continue to increase through 2022. I think it'll probably be a little less than half of that in 2024 and 2025 as well. My predictions are I'm thinking about 3 to 4% price appreciation year over year in 2023 and 2024.
Okay.
That's what I think. Yeah. Now, I do hear that these are national numbers, but
Yeah.
about 1.5 million homes are going to be built in the country over the span of the next 5 years to try to help with this housing shortage situation. And I think a great place to start is some of these vacant office buildings and strip malls that are just sitting there. I think that would be a great place to start. I'm not a builder. I'm just giving my advice.
Just giving your 2.5 cents. You
Yeah.
know what? I actually think now that you said that, I think that's a great idea because malls are dying, and guess what? Malls are dying and people are buying. So
Yeah.
time
It's,
to
it's a shift,
shift.
right?
It's a
Yeah,
shift.
we may not see another Monday through Friday. I'm going to drive an hour every day just to sit in the office. I don't think we're going to see it full time because I think full time at remote. Because in
Yeah.
my personal opinion, I think that it kills creativity. I
Yeah.
think we're like something in the balance of two.
The hybrid,
The hybrid model is going to be
for sure.
ideal. So that's why, Ed, to me, housing is just that much more important.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to be in these
100%.
hybrid models, we have to have a devoted office space to be able to work, take care of the families, handle business, maybe
100%.
joint husband and wife side of the rooms and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But yeah,
Yeah.
people are going to be important.
Takes the Jack and Jill concept to a whole new level, huh?
It's my style. I never liked those anyway, those Jack and Jill bathrooms.
Our site is like this compared to theirs anyway, man.
Yeah.
They get more of the square footage. Excellent, man. Excellent. As always, great chatting with you. We're going to have to do another update, obviously, soon. But how do people get a hold of you? I see that you have your phone number there. Is that the best way? And what's your email address?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my phone number on the screen,
Excellent.
408-460-0577. My name is Nima Moridi. I'm on the Moridi team. And if you wanted to send me an email, It's Nima Moridi, one word, at Intero.com. And if you find me on social at the Ninja Realtor, the Ninja Realtor, you can find me like on Instagram and
You
like,
know, I didn't know that. Is it really say that?
yeah, the Ninja Realtor. Yeah. So
Do you see what my moniker is?
I did. And that's why another reason why I liked you. I liked your energy from the
I
beginning.
honestly had
When I
no
saw
idea until
Mortgage
right
Ninja,
now.
we are,
That's
you and I
so
are,
crazy. So a
yeah,
client named me that, and I said, "Hey, if you don't mind, I'm gonna borrow it and use that. I've been using it forever because a client called me that. By the way, I don't have that kind of ego to name myself that. For those
right,
of
right,
you who are
right.
thinking that it was me naming it, but
Yeah.
yeah, a client called me, man, you're the mortgage ninja, and I thought, wow, that'd be a good slogan. So I had no idea that you called yourself that. That is
Yeah, so
so
I
crazy.
wish that honestly that I got it from a real estate client like you. Like, wow, you're such a real estate ninja. That's not what happened. So I train a lot of MMA. I used to compete, and now
Oh,
sometimes I still train every single week. 4 or 5 times a week.
okay,
So
wow.
when we're usually warming up, some of the guys will ask me how the real estate market is, and that way they called me like, you're like a ninja. I'm like a realtor. I'm gonna call you the ninja realtor, and I'm like, that's gonna stay.
That's it. No, man, you're a monster, man. You're definitely the ninja. Very, very good. Well deserved. So thank you again, and I look forward to our next video. And so there you go, folks. You got to hear from the source, the guy who knows it, the ninja. Now I know he's the ninja of real estate. So make sure that you contact him because, as you can see, the guy is easy to talk with, super knowledgeable, been in the game a long time, and this is the guy who gets you through the finish line without bleeding, by the way. So thanks again, Nima.
Thanks, Ed, man. It was great talking to you. I hope we do
Yeah,
this
same here,
again.
buddy. Thank you.
Appreciate
We
it.
will. Thanks.